Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to talk about the difference between stress and distress. This comes up a lot in my seminars. People say, well, hey, Bill, is stress always bad? What about eustress? What about good stress? And I say, well, absolutely, that's true. Matter of fact, if we really look at what stress is just a series of chemical changes in our body, mostly adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. Those chemicals actually wake us up in the morning. They move us more toward productivity. They help us focus when something's really important. They certainly help us go into a fight or flight response whenever we need to do that. So stress in the form of these chemicals really isn't good or bad. It just is. Now, the challenge is when it wakes us up in the morning and gets us going toward situations and helps us focus, that is just stress. Or maybe eustress, as you like it. Some people do it that way. Distress is when it continues to go up and it throws us into a certain part of the brain. For those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know that we got these 3 parts to the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem. This is the fight or flight part. Middle brain is called the limbic system. Upper 80% of the brain is the neocortex, what I call the top of the mind. So the limbic system, this part of the brain, middle brain, is responsible for keeping us alive as a species. It's always scanning the environment for any signs of danger or threat. Unfortunately, it does have a tendency to overinterpret negative events. So it sees negative as dangerous and throws us into the lower part of the brain that's designed to deal with danger. This is where the adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol really ramps up. And our blood pressure goes up, and our muscle tension goes up, and our heart rate goes up. And that's when that fight or flight response is triggered. In a fight or flight situation, that is exactly what we want to happen. If we're driving down the road and somebody slams on their brakes in front of us, we want to be able to react without thinking, and that's why it goes directly from the limbic system down to the brainstem. The problem is we're experiencing a lot of distress sometimes in situations that aren't truly dangerous. Some person says something we don't like. Some driver drives the way we don't like. Some clerk doesn't give us the service we want. Or somebody important in our life doesn't treat us the way we want to be treated. Unfortunately, this middle brain limbic system has a tendency to interpret that as dangerous as well and throws us into that lower brain, and that's where we go into distress. So one of the things I like to do is use our natural reactions as valuable signals. There's a quote that I have that I really like because I said it. It says, stress is a signal something needs to change. Suffering is when we don't make the change. See, I like that because that way we can use our distress, our anger, our frustration, our annoyance, our anxiety, our depression as a valuable signal that we are now in that lower brain. And if it isn't a fight or flight situation, what we want to do is actually shift back up to the upper brain. That's what I go around the world teaching. I've got a model that spells brain that actually shows people how to shift from the lower brain up into the upper 80% of the brain, change the chemical makeup of our body from adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol to serotonin and endorphins. So this is all a chemical change in our body that we can influence if we understand how the brain works and if we can make a distinction between stress and distress. Frankly, we really don't have to worry too much about stress. It wakes us up, it gets us going, we don't even notice it. It's that distress we want to pay attention to. Because when we find ourselves distressed, angry, frustrated, annoyed, depressed, worried, anxious, whatever, we can go, wait a minute, is this a situation where distress really serves me? Is this a fight or flight situation where I need to go into that reactive brain? Or is this a situation where I want to access my best? Or I want to be able to choose my response in a way I would recommend to someone I love? If the answer is that, then we want to be able to shift to the top of the mind and stay there. And then if we're engaging somebody else, we want to be able to engage them where we create solution-focused conversations versus just some debate about who's right. Again, this is what I teach. I get to go around the world teaching people how the brain works and how to access this clear, confident, creative part of who we are, bring that to life, stay there, and then deal with life, deal with others from this top of the mind neocortex perspective. If this is something you would like me to do with you or your organization, just go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to your life. More clarity about the difference between stress and distress and the ability to do something about it. More clarity, confidence, and creativity to everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.